Hey there, E here from eEats and Healthy Treats with day 26 of the last 40 days of summer with a new salad each day. Today's salad is Pear and Brie spinach salad featuring spinach, pear, brie cheese, almonds, which we'll candy, dried cranberries, with a raspberry vinaigrette. Let's get into it. First I'll start with prepping all the ingredients, starting with the brie cheese. I've already cut a wedge out, so I'll slice that into smaller wedges and then cut it out of the larger piece. I really like brie cheese and have been really excited to make this salad. So now I'll cut some additional wedges out of the cheese wheel until I have enough for 2 salads. I like my pears soft. I've actually been waiting a while to make this salad because of the pear not being where I want it to be as far as ripeness. So I'll slice that in half, and after slicing in half, I did notice it's maybe a little more ripe than I anticipated, but by the time it seemed to be where I wanted it, it was still a few days until I was able to get to the salad. Either way, it'll be okay. So I did slice that half and half again, and then I'm removing the core of the first quarters. I started to slice this into strips going long ways, but the pear was so soft that it didn't want to cooperate very well. On the last 3 quarters, I sliced them on the short end, and this seemed to be appropriate and really should have been what I did all along, even if the pear hadn't been soft. So we'll finish those off. And then the last knife action will be on the onion. I'll cut this in half and set one half to the side for another dish. Then I'll cut the ends off this half and then slice it thinly. Once the onion gets too thin and unstable, I'll put it on its longer end, lay it flat. Then I'll break up the onions with my hands. This will separate all the layers, making it cook faster, and will also be more evenly distributed when placed in the salad. Onto the dressing. I'm using 2-cup liquid measuring cup here, primarily because it works well with my immersion blender. To that I've added the raspberries, followed by the olive oil and white wine. Next, I'll add some locally sourced honey. I'm adding about 1/2 tablespoon, which I will just eyeball. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then I'll take my immersion blender to mix this up until smooth. I'll give it a stir with a spoon to check the consistency and make sure there's no chunks of raspberries that did not get blended. Give it a quick taste. It was good. Over to the range, I've preheated a non-stick skillet over medium-high heat. I'll add the almonds without any oil and allow them to toast until fragrant and lightly browned. After about 5 minutes, I'll turn the heat on for a saucepan over medium heat and add the butter and allow it to melt. Once the butter is almost melted, I'll give it a quick stir. I'll then turn down the heat and add in the brown sugar. It's not quite coming together the way I want, but I think I needed to use a whisk to combine it better and should have waited until the almonds were coated before adding in those spices. Once I thought it was together, I pulled it off the heat and added the toasted almonds. I'll give those a good mix and then set them to the side. With the pan still hot, I'll add a little oil and toss in the onions. I'll mix them around a bit to evenly disperse them in the pan. Then I'll add some salt and a little more oil and cook those down until they are caramelized. I'm personally not a big fan of raw onions or undercooked onions, and it never seems to amaze me when I ask for onions to be well done at a restaurant and I still get them back half raw. There's a big difference in flavor between raw and caramelized onions, and the latter I really enjoy. Now, as for my Grandma C, on the other hand, she loved raw onions along with my sister, to each their own. So once they're done, I'll remove them from the heat, put them in the freezer to cool them down for the salad. So let's dish this up, shall we? Started by placing Popeye's favorite, but only fresh instead of the can, into the bowl. Then add some pear, followed by the Brie cheese. This is a very soft cheese, so it did not want to come off the plate very well. Next, I'll toss on some candied almonds and sprinkle on some dried cranberries. Then add our final topping, the caramelized onions. Lastly, pour on some raspberry vinaigrette. Now for a much anticipated taste. What a delicious salad. The spinach stars as a nutritious lettuce. The pear and brie go so well together. The dried cranberries give a little tarty sweetness along with the dressing. The seasoning on the almonds give a little extra flair, and oh my, the onions add an extra element that is just divine. I almost didn't add onions to this recipe, so I'm very glad that I did. Give this one a try and let me know in the comments what you think below. Until later, be blessed and act in love. Enjoy!